Welcome, focused learners, to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into a deeply fascinating document from the BCS Research Group. It outlines something called the Executive Developmental Intelligence Instantiation, or, thankfully, EDII for short. Now, this is a highly theoretical yet incredibly grounded program designed specifically for executive teams, and we're going to break down exactly how it works step by step.
Let's set the stage with the visual branding behind this research. This sun swirl logo represents the BCS Research Group and the EDI program itself. And honestly, it's a perfectly fitting symbol, because this entire research proposal is about illuminating what's hidden. Specifically, it explores human-AI collaboration and advanced systems thinking right inside the modern workplace.
Okay, let's dive into this, because the entire program really hinges on this exact, incredibly provocative Socratic question, posed directly by the text. What if your organization already contains substantially more capability than it is currently able to realize? Seriously, just sit with that thought for a second. It completely flips how we normally think about corporate performance.
To understand why that question is such a massive paradigm shift, we kind of have to look at the prevailing corporate mindset. Normally, when a company faces a challenge, they instantly default to capability acquisition. They run out and buy new tech, hire expensive consultants, or launch these massive, exhausting transformation initiatives. But this text argues for a profound shift toward capability realization. It's the radical idea that your organization already possesses massive capacity, deep expertise, and all the resources you need. The real challenge is simply unlocking and accessing that unrealized abundance you already have sitting right there.
Section 1. Defining the EDII program, what it is and what it definitely isn't. So how do they actually pull this off? Well, the source document purposefully defines the program with what's essentially an anti-pitch, aggressively stating its boundaries. The authors are crystal clear about what this is not. It is definitely not a training program. There's no new framework or methodology for executives to memorize. It is not a consulting engagement, so no external solutions are going to be imposed on your business. And it's not a transformation initiative. There's no prescribed change agenda to follow. Unlike standard consulting, the value here doesn't depend on swooping in to fix a specific crisis. The value relies purely on accessing that unrealized capacity we just talked about.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how they define what they actually do. They call it an instantiation. This is a live diagnostic experience where up to 20 executives get in a room and work on their actual real-world strategic challenges. But they do it using an alternative collective cognition architecture. So they aren't just sitting there learning theory, they are actively experiencing a completely new way of thinking collectively, applied directly to their own messy real-world context.
Section 2. The core governing loop, the axis of collective intelligence.
To grasp how this alternative cognition works, we need to look at the specific mechanics detailed in the research. According to the text, human-based complex adaptive systems, like your executive team, metabolize knowledge through 3 crucial steps. It all starts with coherence. Coherence is essentially the spark. It's the alignment that allows your raw capacity, meaning your knowledge stock, your team's existing expertise, to be metabolized effectively into that third step, capability, which is your actual realized performance in the market.
And the text actually provides a really fascinating formula to visualize this, called conservation geometry. C plus L plus D equals 1. Let's demystify that jargon really quickly. C stands for coherence, L is latency, and D is distortion. In plain terms, your coherence decreases when latency, which is your unrealized trapped capacity, and distortion, meaning contradictory assumptions or blind spots, interrupt the loop. It's a zero-sum game. When L and D go up, C goes down, and you flat out fail to realize your true capability.
Section 3. The 4 diagnostic domains, locating the structural bottlenecks.
So naturally, the next question is, how do we find out where that coherence is breaking down? The diagnostic evaluates 4 very specific areas to find the bottlenecks between potential and performance. First, realizing latent capacity, basically asking what expertise is sitting around completely underutilized. Second, utilization of explicit knowledge. How well are you actually using your documented facts and data? Third, utilization of implicit knowledge, and this is a huge one. It explores trapped tacit knowledge, things like gut intuition, judgment, and collective memory. And finally, the 4th domain looks at the role of AI in executive processes.
So the crucial point is captured perfectly in this quote right from the source. The objective is not assessment for its own sake. The objective is revealing the gap between latent and realized capability. You see, the program doesn't grade the executives or hand them a to-do list. It merely holds up a giant mirror to their realization gap so they can see exactly what kind of power they are leaving on the table.
Section 4.
the BCS 2.0 form, the live diagnostic instrument.
Now, this mirror is held up in a very specific physical space. The executives spend an intense 8-hour day followed by a 2-hour day after review inside this forum. And what happens inside is a jarring, revealing contrast. They compare their conventional boardroom cognition, which is the normal, often fragmented and politically charged way they hold meetings, against what the text calls invariant governed recursive collective cognition. Translating that incredibly dense academic jargon into plain English, it means they experience a hyper-aligned, rigorously structured way of processing information collectively. And honestly, the difference for them is night and day.
During the forum, participants start observing some pretty amazing things. Strategic contradictions that were previously swept under the rug suddenly surface. Unstated assumptions become starkly visible to everyone in the room. But perhaps most importantly, they recognize structural bottlenecks. Issues that executives previously blamed on individual people or certain departments are suddenly revealed to be structural, causal problems in how the organization processes information.
Section 5. The AI Twist, Rethinking Artificial Intelligence in the C-Suite. Now, we're going to look at what I think is the most modern and honestly counterintuitive element of this entire source text. Right now, almost every boardroom out there views AI as a search or productivity tool, just a fast way to automate tasks or analyze a spreadsheet. But this program introduces AI as a participant in collective cognition, and this brilliantly illustrates the text's deeper philosophy. AI's true role here isn't to replace human executive judgment, not at all. Instead, it acts as an amplifier, participating directly in the cognitive loop to help reveal the hidden, unrealized capacity that's already present in the human team. Section 6. The Human Architect, Maintaining the Developmental Process. Of course, setting up this highly advanced, vulnerable environment requires a very specific kind of guidance. The human architect's role is fascinating, mostly because of what they don't do. They're not a subject matter authority on your specific business, and they absolutely aren't there to spoon-feed answers or teach you theory. Instead, their job is to hold this space securely so the executive team can integrate their own expertise. They facilitate contradiction metabolism, which is a fancy way of saying they help the team process disagreements efficiently without things breaking down. The text notes that the architect brings 40 years of consequence-bearing execution experience to the table. That means they've lived with the real-world results of highly complex decisions, which is what allows them to confidently anchor the room.
And here is a detail that I find genuinely astonishing. I mean, talk about putting your money where your mouth is. The fee for this instantiation ranges from $25,000 to $35,000. But wait for it. The fee is strictly payable upon participant confirmation of usefulness. No way, right? The organization only writes the check if the executives directly experience and confirm that the diagnostic actually revealed their latent capacity. There are zero theoretical promises here. It's entirely based on experiential proof.
Section 7. Unrealized Abundance, the ultimate paradigm shift.
As we weave all these threads together, we arrive at the ultimate paradigm shift proposed by the BCS Research Group. You'll notice our central sun swirl symbol now includes a simple but very powerful mathematical notation. Delta C is greater than or equal to 0. This visually caps off the entire mechanics of the program. It's a reminder that decision architectures must be built and maintained so that coherence, that absolutely vital spark of collective intelligence, continuously compounds over time rather than bleeding out to latency and distortion.
The definitive philosophical takeaway of this entire proposal is perfectly captured right here. The future may depend less on the capabilities we create than on our ability to realize the capabilities we already possess. It is a profound, fundamental shift from a mindset of constant, frantic acquisition to one of deep, powerful internal realization. So, we leave you with this final, powerful thought directly from the source. The biggest challenge in your organization right now may not actually be scarcity, but unrealized abundance. What becomes possible when you finally gain access to what you already have? It's a provocative question, and one that forces us to look entirely differently at organizational alignment, leadership, and the immense potential sitting right in front of us. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.